Hi, my name's Dee, your Professor of Woo Woo, and welcome to Sunchild Tarot. And welcome again to our resident astrologer, David Fischer. How are you doing, David?
Good, Dee. How are you?
I'm really good. Now, I've had quite an in-depth look at this new moon. Let's get it right to start off with. Full moon. And there's a few things that have really jumped out on me. But basically, I rather think that we've had Mercury retrograde. We've had Venus retrograde. We've had everything that we have discussed on all the lunations that have been coming up. We have made plans. We have reviewed those plans. We have revised those plans. We have committed to what we want to do. And now all these things that have been unearthed, all these things that have come up, that Pluto has dragged up, that the retrogrades have dragged up. Don't forget the Mercury Pluto conjunction recently. Now, if you don't act on what has been uncovered and what you've realized and what has been shown to you, and if you don't take this treasure that has been unearthed for you and use it, then it's going to use you. So thank you very much for coming, David. And,
Totally. Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I think I'm going to have my lunch earlier today. So I see everyone. Don't forget to check my website. That's all. How's that for a quick video?
Right, I'm sure you've got far more technical things than me to say about it, though.
Yeah, I have a few more things, but I really like what you said about Pluto unearthing some treasures for us, especially with Mercury, because yeah, we gave some words after the retrograde, especially including that Pluto, that allow us to access the problems, specifically the problems, the issues that are impeding us to move forward in our lives, that are taking away our power, and that we generally ignore or try to try to deal with in a fearful manner because of fear. We deal with it with fear. And so being able to look at that fear and giving it a name is like naming your demons. It's literally naming your demons. And so that is unearthing some kind of treasure, because it does take something that is rooted in your subconscious that is still moving you, or and kind of bringing it to light. And that makes it much less fearsome. It makes you capable of dealing with it consciously and with awareness and, directly. So we are going to dive into that more deeply, looking at the chart. This is not the chart. This is the chart. That one was the 12-part chart. So sorry for that. Can you guys see the Gemini rising? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay. So this is the full moon chart, and something, and it's specific for my location, so never mind the houses. I forgot to do that whole pretty moon and the ascendant kind of thing that I did last time. But you have a few interesting things that jump out at first when you look at them. Mercury recently ingressed into Aquarius. That's interesting. We're going to talk a bit about that. You have Venus and Jupiter in a good contact with Mars, and Mars's position. Mars is also exalted, so that's something we're going to touch on. Venus and Mars conjunction, obviously. You have this sextile between Jupiter and Uranus in the larger scale of things that we might also talk about, and a fixed cross here where the moon and the sun, both luminaries, are at the bendings of the nodes. So these are the things that we're going to cover today. Where do you feel like starting?
Let's go with the fixed cross, because a lot of the various YouTube channels have been saying it's very much like an eclipse energy, and that always fills me with glee and everyone else with dread. So let's start with that one.
Okay, so the fixed cross is interesting because you are not talking about eclipses per se. You're talking about a pivot moment in the general eclipse narrative, that where things start coming to light and you start moving into another direction that culminates in the next eclipse season where things actually change. Right now is it's kind of a turning of the wheel moment where you don't make more changes specifically because the changes already occurred in the last eclipse season. But now you are kind of in a new conscious place with those changes, and you can see them in a different light, and thus you can plan for future changes, or at least start the movements that are going to culminate in the next eclipse season. So look at the houses where the eclipses are falling. That means Taurus and Scorpio. And you are going to find the scenarios developing since last November that are getting now a new light, that you are understanding in a different manner. So, and you're understanding it in a different manner because of Leo and Aquarius, which is kind of a, the group accepts or not who you are and your individual expression, and that affects how you view the security that you're having within the Scorpio and Taurus houses, which are more material and related to your body. The Aquarius and Leo are related to your identity, but in a more me versus the group, my individual versus how it fits in this social scenario I'm in. But Taurus and Scorpio are more about how that feels in your body, related to material security or not having it. The fixed signs are kind of like that. You have, and this I'm drawing from Dana Lynn, the People's Oracle. You guys should check her channel out. She's the sidereal astrologer, in my opinion, and she says so herself. And she's really, really good. But the way she describes the sidereal signs, I find, and modalities are very fitting to the tropical analysis as well. When you switch to tropical, you can kind of apply these narratives in that system as well, which the fixed signs are much about your identity and much about how that impacts the way you can survive, your survival instincts, your belonging, your feeling of belonging that makes you feel safe in society. And thus it affects also your sense of identity. You see Taurus, for instance, which is the sense of aesthetics, the sense of being integrated into a social group in a way that makes you feel like you are materially safe, that you can depend on that particular social group materially to draw your resources from, and thus you can grow. You can direct your identity to things that are more like you, that are more pleasant to you. Venusian sign in a 10th position from Leo. So you can build a sense of an individuality that is more in line with things that you like, with things that are pleasant to you. Versus when you have a Scorpio directed chart, you feel like those things are denied to you. And your sense of identity kind of has to build from that, from the sense of lack of things that are more like you. So you take the things that could be challenging to your personality, that could be giving you that sense of, if I'm not suffering, I am not belonging. If I am not working to belong here, I don't deserve to belong, which is that hurt of Scorpio, of being rejected because your aesthetic, your likes are not in tune with the general public's. And when you get to Aquarius, that hurt of not being accepted by the general public becomes a self-defining quality because it's an air sign. So in Scorpio, you feel in your body the sense of not belonging. You feel that desperation, that anxiety, it's the fall of the moon. In Aquarius, it's the exile of the sun. You feel like you cannot belong in the general expectations for your identity in Leo. You cannot be an individual alone. So you make up your individuality, your sense of self, from defining yourself as everything that the other thing is not, you know?
Yeah.
And so you compare yourself to what has rejected you. You take the words that they use to describe you, be it faggot, or other things. I say that because I'm a homosexual, so I've been targeted with those kinds of words in my own language, of course. And so you take back those words that are used to marginalize you, and you make up your identity off of them in a way that's empowering. So
like
self-defining quality. Sorry?
Like the queer politics movement then, because
exactly.
Queer was a term of abuse, and then it's now being used as a term of, this is the crowd that I belong with, and
you cannot, yes, you cannot disrespect us. We will use the words that you are trying to target at us to diminish us, to other us, and we are going to make an individual out of it, and you cannot repress it anymore. So that's the quality of Aquarius, and Leo is the quality of belonging, because I fulfill the expectations of individual. I am that kind of superhero, Superman quality of, I can fit into the expectations of the general. But that also makes you lose a bit of yourself, you see, when you cannot self-define except from the expectance of the general public. So that opposition of Aquarius and Leo is much active at this lunation, giving us that sense of, because the sun is exiled, ruling the moon in Leo, and the moon in Leo is in distress by being in it in a malefic term or bounds, or and by being opposite to the sun itself. It's in a condition that we call the bond, and it's distressing because we cannot have definition. It's just the sun and the moon circling around a topic, so something can be revealed, but that requires you to make an effort to have that discussion in your head. Okay, I'm seeing two different paths here. I'm seeing that I am very distressed because of something, and I'm seeing that the other side of it is, it's distressing me because of my expectations towards it. And I see that those expectations are based off of on fear, that I'm not going to have enough, that I'm not going to be able to provide for myself, or that the group that I'm inserted into doesn't understand how I function, and thus cannot provide for me properly. But I also feel like there is a side to it where I have to self-define. I have to come forth and tell people what I'm about and how I am expecting things to happen, if I am to have that given back to me. I feel like I came to this pivot point where I am not perhaps directing my requests or my needs to the right people or to the right collective. And for that, I have to switch to another kind of approach, or to another kind of collective. That depends on how your chart is distributed.
Is that something that you could say for all full moons in Leo, considering that the moon here, a full moon in Leo, the moon is always ruled by the sun? It's the only
well, yes, every moon in Leo has this. Every moon in Leo has this quality, the moon, the full moon in Leo, of you versus the other, you versus what you marginalize. So with the sun being in Aquarius, it's always like, oh, I always thought that I used to fit in with these qualities, and I never understood why I had such negative feedback. But now I realize that I haven't, I've outgrown some part of my narrative, and I need to kind of mature it a little bit, because it's been outdated. It's outdated now. It's outdated now, and people kind of reflect that back at me. So it's a fine tuning of the individual and what's expected of it by the collective. Sometimes there are, depending on your chart, that can be breakups that happen around this time, because you're saying to yourself, I have to self-define, and I am not being able to do that within this particular group, and so I have to move into another kind of alliance that that fits into this new character a little more. But when you have the nodes, and when you have this lunation happening at the bending of the nodes, which means the square in the midpoints to the eclipse season, you have the narrative of the eclipses inserted into that coming of awareness into the Leo full moon. So it's much more about, not only about, how can I self-define best, is how can I self-define best considering this larger narrative of material security, financial security, that I'm striving to get to, because I have this North Node in Taurus. We need to get to that material stability. We are fighting for that because it's volatile at the moment. We can't be sure of the grounds we are trying to build on. And why can't we be sure of that? I feel in the Scorpio South Node this need for releasing this fearful approach to life. I cannot be under pressure anymore from these scorpionic feelings. There can't be any more of these comfortable demons within my inner self trying to direct my life. I need to let go of those narratives. I need to let go of those toxic people, if it's your 11th house or 3rd house, or something like that related to friends and groups of people. I need to let go of toxic environments. I need to let go of things that make me feel like I don't belong. That's the volatility of the nodes within those fixed houses. Yes.
That's an interesting point, because somebody on a video I was watching, I think it was Ksenia, was saying about that Leo Aquarius polarity. Leo is all about me. But to celebrate me and to show me off, I need an audience, which is the Aquarius. And what you were saying about outgrowing things, some of the things you might have outgrown is your audience. You may need a new audience.
Yes. And it's I want to tell you guys to go check Dana Lynn's The People's Oracle material, because she's probably going to be talking this time about the full moon in Leo as well, because in sidereal is going to happen in the same polarity of signs. And the nodes are also still in the same polarity of signs, just about to go into Libra and Aries in sidereal. So you should go check that out, because she's going to be saying things that are related to this. And I'm drawing a lot from her material, not currently because I haven't watched her in a while, but from the years that I've followed her, to make this description of the fixed signs and how they are interacting with one another. I learned a lot from her. So, and I like what you were saying. We are, and back to that self-determining scenario, it's like it's time for you to make those self-determining moves of, I am not this, and I cannot put up with this particular routine that keeps generating anxiety in my body, and I have to pay attention to my to how I relate to my body even, and how I am abusing it. The moon is also about your body, and it's distressed, and in the square to the nodes, it's particularly harmful to have that approach to your routine where you're only trying to be productive for your ideal sense of self, and that generally has to do with the obsessive productivity oriented kind of energy, where you are inputting too much of yourself into your work because you're trying to achieve that idealized version of yourself. And the nodes have that quality as well. At this moment, you're seeing you're kind of at this high place where you can see like where that's been harmful to you, but only if you try and look in that direction. If you don't, you're only going to be wondering why things are not working in your life, and why the general feedback from circumstance hasn't been up to your expectations. You're only going to be frustrated.
I definitely want to come back to this point when I introduce the 12 parts later. But also what you were saying has got me thinking about how we were saying at the last new moon, it was time to speak out. And one thing, I don't know whether we made it clear enough or not, I can't remember, but there was no wrong in that speaking out, because you were speaking out about how you feel. And the only person who knows how you feel is you. Now, you could be wrong if you inaccurately describe your emotions and inaccurately communicate how it is that you feel, or didn't fully understand the base reasonings of how you feel. But theoretically, a lot of this discussion has hopefully been started, and therefore you've had the opportunity to go, I feel like this, and the people you're saying it to are going, really? And so you know, or however they react. But let's just assume that you said how you felt and you got criticism back. Now, there's two ways that you can look at that. Was the criticism actually quite valid and a useful tool to help you delve further into how you feel? Or was it just a load of nonsense from closed ears who didn't want to hear what you were saying? I would imagine for most people, it'll be a sprinkling of either.
Yes, and that's perfect because you are juggling between Taurus and Scorpio here. So if you are, as you said, in need of revising of your attitude within your social group, be it the people you live with, the people you work with, if you had a reassessment, now you have the choice of doing the Taurian thing and kind of conceding, lapidating your own approach to your own how you show your personality, and doing the Taurian thing and kind of toning down a little, going,
really,
yeah, there are other people in the room. You can do that depending on your chart. You can be those kinds of people that are too much on other people's businesses and you want their validation. And now you kind of see, well, maybe if I tone down a little bit, maybe if I become a little more cordial with people, maybe if I don't just come up and demand things from them, they'll treat me more nicely and I can get nicer things and nicer feedback. And then you kind of direct yourself more towards the Taurian thing. And that's completely possible. There are those moments where we see that we've been demanding too much from other people because we are afraid that we are not going to get our needs met, but we see that our needs have been met on the last few months. And we're kind of, oh, we are in a different scenario now. We can relax a bit. We can self-define as someone who's not a victim anymore and be more self-empowered. That's something that can happen. But you might also go to the Scorpio extreme where closed ears are not allowing you to express yourself. And you realize, oh, that's why I've been feeling so tired, because every single time I try to speak out, this person just reacts. And it doesn't matter how I try to be cordial with them, they will only lash out at me because they don't want to hear. So I need now to make the Scorpio thing and separate, not appease the humors, not be more cordial, but actually be more Martian and separate from things that are causing this anxiety and causing me not to feel accepted, and move towards a place where I feel that is more like me and my personality.
The reason I went really earlier was when you were saying about Taurus, and although I agree what you were saying about the Taurian energy, but if you look at the decan that it is in, this is the decan of the Seven of Wands. This is the, oh no, tell a lie. No, it's Seven of Pentacles. I'm getting confused, isn't it? It's the moon that's Seven of Wands. Yes. So there's that feeling of, I'm choosing the hill I'm going to die on, or I am going to defend this position after it has been honed. But yes, I see what you mean about the Taurian now. I was getting confused between Wands and Pentacles. The moon giving you that feeling of, we've had all this interplay, we've had all this interchange. Hopefully I've spoken out. And if you haven't, then with all these retrogrades, people have probably sussed what it is that you wanted to speak out about anyway, I would imagine. There'll have been revelation there somewhere along the line. So it gives me that do or die time that I was talking about at the very start.
Yes, and it's something to be said about also being the end of the fixed signs, because it is outdated structures in your life, particularly now with the lunation happening in Scorpio, in Aquarius and Leo, that being about how you self-identify and how the group responds to that. And I think we can switch a little bit to Venus and Mars at this moment, because they rule the signs that the nodes are in, to speak of how volatile of a moment this is. It's not usual to have Mars and Venus walking hand in hand together for so long. They have this thing where Venus retrograded recently and Mars is moving very, very fast at the moment. It's at the one of the fastest moments of its cycle. So it is catching up with Venus, and Venus is still kind of accelerating in the sky because it's just been through a retrograde. And so once they are kind of at the same pace at the moment, Venus kind of waited for Mars to catch up with it, and now it's accelerating a little bit, and it will eventually surpass Mars again, but they will move at the same pace for a long time. Now, that means that at this particular moment in reality, everything is like a new seed, and it has the potential to, but we are destroying it at the same time. It's like we are reaping and sowing again. Mars and Venus have that quality of changing everything where they go through. And that's where you have to look at in your chart for Capricorn to kind of see the topics that are being, reshaped. And with those being the rulers of these nodes, you kind of see how that ties into the general narrative since November, and how it has been changing. Now it's kind of a pivot point. We've done the homework, we've done the things that we applied ourselves to do. But now looking at the future, we kind of have to draw a new picture. And that's what we're being confronted with. It's difficult to draw a new picture when you've had like the last couple of years being so unstable. You still feel that instability. You're still kind of in that momentum of the pandemic. And we are still afraid that things are going to be changing more than they have again. But the change really now it's our own to make. We have to enact those changes. So we see ourselves responsible for that now. And it's kind of seeing, we have the board, we have to surf this new giant wave that is coming on. And it's only up to us, to ourselves, to kind of navigate that. We are on our own. We are the captain of our own ship now. And we can do or die, as you said.
Yeah.
These structures, they are going to die. They're already dead. And it's only up to me to realize that they're not there anymore to support that kind of character that I used to uphold. And now I have to fine tune it to the current reality, be it me leaving the current social group or remolding my personality in a way that is more in tune with what I need to do to belong to this particular collective. And I was actually having an interesting talk about that with some friends. They were, just to illustrate this particular energy, there were a group of friends here in my house. They've known each other since they were kids, literally studied together. They're related to the people that I live with, my roommate, who's also my cousin. And they were talking about this other friend who kind of went off the rails. It's someone who should be seeking treatment because they affect other people negatively around them when they are off balance. And they were off balance with substance abuse and other issues. And they were just discussing how much they loved this person, but how it's become unbearable to them and their family as well to keep supporting this person in their attitude, because they would keep repeating the cycle and not looking for help. And this is the kind of energy that we see. We do love this person. They were part of a very long-term journey in our lives. They were part of, they are part of who we are, as a collective. In all of our memories, it's like not having a part of ourselves, not having him in the room, at this moment still. But we have to remove that part of ourselves because it doesn't fit with how we have progressed in our lives anymore. We don't hold space for that kind of attitude anymore, self-destructive kind of behavior. And so they are creating a new social dynamic. One of them has moved to a further city, and thus the social dynamic of the group is changing again. And we see that in the collectives that we are a part of also in our lives, not only for these people, but I am inserted in my cousin's life and into this group's dynamics now, because I am here living with them, recently moved into it and participating in this change. So you see the new elements, you see the new potentials, you see what you're trying to build for the future that doesn't have to do with that particular collective, even though it's still a part of your history and you cherish it. You know, it's time to bury it because new things have come to the surface. You have been made aware of a new way of new way of being yourself and showing yourself to the world. That doesn't hold space to things that you used to hold dear. Now you have to rediscover what are your treasures. That's one thing I would say it's important right now.
I think that's a lovely way of putting it, because you notice I took a sharp intake of breath when you were saying that how to change yourself for the collective that you're in, and for my personality is like, no, I'm going to change myself for me and then find what collective I fit in. Thank you very much. I ain't changing me for anybody else other than me, because I want to change for the better, but that's for me, not for anybody else. So you hit that sort of, you hit that individualistic nerve with the way you phrase it to start off with, but it makes more sense.
Yeah, because I put it from the sense of the collective. You saw it from the perspective of a group of people looking at an individual that's been acting out rudely, or rudely is to put it mildly, but in a toxic way.
There's right. What else do you want to draw on within? Because Venus and Mars are initiating this. I mean, they've got this, they're literally 0 minute. Well, according to your software, they're 1 minute of arc apart already. According to mine, they haven't even got that far yet. So then guess who's coming back as they move along? We've got that Pluto. I've got a lot to say about Pluto later, but how do you think that Pluto is going to affect this whole starting business? Do you think, is it going to help wipe the slate clean so that this new start can actually build properly because the other stuff is cleared out of the way? Or is it more likely that Pluto will go, oi, no, stop a minute. Have you thought about what you're doing here? Or a combination of both?
Yeah, what happens is you don't describe the outer planets, and that I mean Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, and anything that's outer than Saturn. You have to think of long-term things, and especially not your lifetime long-term things. It's collective long-term things, which means 250-year cycle of a planet. Yeah. So we are talking about a specific moment in history where Pluto has been in Capricorn for the last 15 years, and the social narrative has affected that part of your life, specifically with what's happened in the economy and all of that for the past 15 years. And we all know what happened in 2008 and what's been happening lately in politics and world economy and social health, public health, and all of that. We all know
the Saturn-Pluto conjunction onwards. But I mean, I was thinking about how people have discussed about the recent Mercury-Pluto conjunction. So therefore, if Mercury-Pluto was a thing, then Mars-Venus-Pluto.
Yes, I have a point. So the Mercury-Pluto conjunction kind of started this part of the cycle right now, especially with the retrograde. It was 3 conjunctions. We have this reevaluation of how we fit in our general narrative of our lives. We look back, Mercury retrograde, we look back into what we've built in the past decade for our own lives, materially speaking, how that's been reshaped because of the pandemic, because of the whole havoc that the slower moving planets, Jupiter, Saturn, have caused with that Pluto dynamic. And we are able to see ourselves in this new narrative. So for instance, because of Venus-Mars conjunction, so we are capable of giving words So we are capable of, because of Mercury, and with Mars and Venus, we are capable of enacting a new routine. So let me give you my example, because I feel like my life has been a very, I have a lot of planets in Capricorn and Aquarius. So my life has been a direct example of how these things can manifest in real life. I have been moving a lot lately in the past 2 years. And last move that I made was to another city. So big move, you have to have a truck to take your furniture, your stuff to another house. That involves spending more money than you usually spend in your routine. And I don't have that much money to spend, freely all around at the moment. So I had to change my whole routine. I still haven't gotten accustomed because I've been here for only a month. But now I'm living with someone from my family, which is a cousin. I am living in a bigger house. I am living in a quieter city because that was my aim. So I changed everything. Literally, I've changed my scenario around me. I've changed people. I've changed the social circle. I've changed my relationship with my family in the past few months. All of that has died. And now I see a future ahead of me where I have to find out how I'm going to build my vision from where I stand, because it's a completely different scenario. I might have still the same long-term goals, but I can't reach them the same way I have envisioned 6 months ago, because I didn't even know I was going to be here 6 months ago. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So, and now I see myself in another group. I also have to let go of a few things that I was used to in my other with my other roommates. Some expectancies I have to reshape. Some expectations, actually, sorry, that I have to reshape. Routine is going to take a new look. I have to go back to my normal schedule. I got late to our scheduled time today with recording because I overslept. And that's because I am sleeping off my schedule for weeks in a row, and I need to go back to what I used to do. But it's new experiences that allow me to have a new feel of my body and allow me to view reality in new form. And that's all happening with this conjunction to Pluto, putting into perspective everything that I've built so far and how I'm going to go about it from now on, and what I expect from my future. Yeah, it's very long term with the slow moving planets. It's again not a usual pattern to have Venus and Mars together for so long. So having that with Pluto just indicates how long term of an aspect this is, and how long term the impact is going to be in your personal life in the area that Capricorn inhabits in your chart.
And the changes that you can make now are
being
so
very profound,
very important.
Yeah,
this is a great time, if I'm not knocking you off your train of thought.
No, that's it.
Cool. Because I want to introduce the angel that rules 27 degrees of Leo.
Would you like me to unshare?
Sorry, yeah, you might as well. I'm not going to share anything just for the moment, but we can go on to 12 parts in a minute. The angel that rules 27 Leo is Sitael, who, on a very brief description here, is about eliminating negative thoughts, and more importantly, the construction of the universe, or the construction of worlds. And this is exactly what you have just been describing, constructing a new world for yourself. Now, it's another thing with Sitael is that it is about miracle making. Of course, he's an angel. He's called, his name translates as the God of Hope. And one of the things that Sitael is used for magically is the discovering of truth. Now, this is this is why I was saying about the Mercury retrograde, the Mercury Pluto conjunction, the Venus retrograde, the Venus Pluto conjunctions, all this thing that we've been going on, because if you hadn't noticed the truth now, it's going to grab a rotting fish out of the local market and beat you around the face with it. Yes, it's because the decan which this full moon is occurring in, by day it's ruled by the goetic spirit Eligos, who reveals hidden things, and by night it's ruled by the spirit Balaam, who is one who speaks of past and present when you evoke them for service. But what is really interesting is there's this constant theme of revelation, revelation, revelation that has been going on here. But there's also the Franz Baden. Now, let me just, I'm just going to bring the, so I can read it up. The Franz Baden degree heads. Now, these are entities that Franz Baden evoked. Basically, he concentrated on each tropical degree, I believe, of the zodiac and went, right, who's in charge of this one? And this one, as he's written down, is Takarosa, who teaches the magician magic formulae by the application of which effects are brought about in the mental, astral, and physical world by the elements or the beings of elements. The magician may also be taught Kabbalistic formula, which above all, the beings of air and water principles are easily made obedient. But look at that, the beings of the air and water principles, the beings of ideas and the beings of emotions. And we are being given this opportunity, which Venus Mars together says much the same thing. Here's your emotions, here's your lusts, here's your secrets, which Pluto has been revealing again and again and again. Now you get chance to put them under control. Now you get chance to build something that you are wanting to build. Now, let's go to the 12 parts, because if I share my screen now, if I'll press the right button, you will see that whereas everything is concentrated, certainly on the chart, because oh yeah, I've got a few extra bodies here. I want to point out that Vesta is so close and leading Venus and Mars at the moment. So we are being encouraged to move towards what it is that we hold sacred. And the motivations, which is opposing all of this Capricorn activity as 12 parts. We've got the moon, the Jupiter, Venus, Mars, and Chiron all together in, from the last new moon a couple of weeks ago, this is the 6th house. From the greater lunation cycle, from the new moon in Leo last year, then this was the 12th house. And so this is something that has risen up from the depths, and now you are able to use it. It is able to be of service or allow you and motivate you to be of service, because now you understand. I know you have something to say about the Jupiter.
I love
part.
Yeah, I love that the moon and Jupiter in Cancer, and it's the same 12th part as Mars and Venus, and also Chiron, which kind of gives us this, yeah, I understand now where the hurt was. And especially Mars is exalted, and I want to mention that in Capricorn, it's 12 parts in Cancer, opposite to it, but it only speaks to that fact of my motivation here is to deal with what's hurting this Mars, with what's not in tune with, I'm afraid. I don't want to be afraid anymore. I don't want to be motivated by fear anymore, and I'm being made aware of it acutely right now. But Venus with it kind of cools it down. The moon with it cools it down. Jupiter with it makes it more malleable as well. So you have so many mitigations to the fact that Mars would be, opposite to its 12th part, that you kind of have that sense of, yeah, I'm just being made aware of why I am afraid of certain things and why I am fighting so desperately to try and maintain a sense of reality that is cohesive, and why I can't at this moment. But also being aware of that makes me more able to make that happen for myself, to be able to go in a direction that's more satisfactory with the sun's 12th part being here with Venus and Mars as well, you have that sense of what you said. Truth is motivating, and I say truth here as what is moving you to your spirit towards, being in peace. Whatever you can be at peace of, because it makes sense when you feel that chill in your spine. That's kind of good. That kind of ASMR feeling of, oh yes, this resonates. I understand this. I can see this. It's kind of your truth. It's kind of something that is moving your spirit. And that's what I'm calling truth right now. This is what the 12th part of the sun kind of means. The intention behind things is kind of arriving to that truth. As Dee was saying, in regards to the lunations in Leo, that is the 12th house from it. So it's the intention is, I need to give this bad spirit the way I've been sabotaging myself.
Yes,
a way to heal.
About that.
I need to give it a way to heal. And that's what's been coming up to the surface, how my fears have been informing my sense of self and how they cannot do that anymore because they're going to be imperative to my future goals in this new reality I have already created for myself. And this is all a part of the transition caused by Mars and Venus being in that Capricorn house.
Let's also have a look at that Saturn 12th part. Being ruled by the sun, right on top of the moon, do something with those feelings. Actually use them, channel them. And then if we haven't been given enough of an imperative to deal with all this stuff, now David knows what's coming here because I was telling him earlier, I want to talk about Pluto and its, for a change, and its relationship to both Lilith and Chiron. But before I ever even do this, it's the way I look at the charts, it strikes me that the planets, the gods are screaming, get this right. Because this time, just like in the new moon last time, and not in any of the new moons before that I've noticed since I've been starting to look at this, sun to sun 12th part, septile, moon to moon 12th part, septile, and then one other septile relationship this time, Lilith, which is that striving for independence, that actually using what the sun and the moon are telling you here. And then we bring Pluto into the mix. So with, let's talk about Lilith, Pluto and Lilith to start off with. So Pluto is in fact biquintile Lilith. It's biquintile with a just over 2-degree orb applying. So it's really, the full moon's only the start. By this sort of calculation, Pluto and Lilith are going to make sure that you act on these things. As I said, you have to use these treasures that Pluto has unearthed, because if you don't use them, they will use you. So there's a really interesting relationship between the two planets here. Well, the planet and the mathematical point. Lilith is triseptile, Pluto's 12th part, and Pluto and Lilith's 12th parts are also biseptile one another. Again, there's that septiles, or any form of septiles representing the spiritual intervention or spiritual urge, and that biquintile, that Pluto biquintile Lilith, actually saying be creative, do something, where there is an allowance and an encouragement of that. Okay, you're fed up with something, you want to change something, you want to get your independence. Well, how about now? Because now's the time to be creative with it. And we might even show you a few ways that you can choose. Now, because this is all based on, as we've been discussing, the wound, so Chiron. Now, Chiron and Pluto are really interesting. Again, there's that creative relationship. We've got Pluto quintile Chiron with an orb of 0.5 degree. And what's really interesting is that also Pluto and Chiron are both being ruled by the same angel, which is Eladia. Now, Aladia is about healing disease nicely. The power to understand science, well, that could be useful nowadays, couldn't it, with some of the things that are going on in the world, and more importantly, the power to overcome negativity. So there's this real sense that, yeah, there has been a wound, but it's had a reason. Do something about it. You've been made acutely aware of it, and you are being given the energy to do something about it. Aladia is the guardian angel for people born between May the 6th and May the 10th. So I forget what his actual arc is. But May the 6th to May the 10th. So it's whatever, that's 5 degrees, whatever his equivalence is. His name means God of favor, because all the Shem Hamatharash, which is the 72 angels around the zodiac, have little pieces of the name of God. Now, going back to the Pluto-Chiron relationship, Pluto's 12th part is also related to Chiron's 12th part by the angel Hahuia. Now, let me just grab the information about Hahuia, who represents overcoming jealousy and protection. Now, I want to focus on that protection, but the overcoming jealousy puts an interesting spin on it. It's if there is that wound, say for some reason of lack, it's not, I am wounded because they have it and I don't. It's just being aware of, I am wounded because I don't have it. End of story, because there's going to be more to share, but there's that protection aspect that I really, really like, that you are protected. Remember, these are all 12 parts, so they're all intentions. Your intentions are in effect being protected by this particular angel to move forward on them. But that's not it. The Goetia aren't going to stay quiet during this. And there's a strange form.
I just want to say something about Chiron in Aries, which is, you have to, sometimes to heal your own wounds, you have to be more assertive, you have to be more Martian. You have to, cut through the poison, through the poisoned area, amputate limb that's been necrotizing? Necrotizing? No, I don't know. Anyway, tell us in the comments. So you have that Chiron there in Aries telling you to be more of a Martian archetype, especially with Mars in exaltation right now. It would be a good time to take action to try and heal your own wounds. Meaning, try and be yourself. Try and be rude when you feel you must, but always not rude, but assertive. Being like tempered, to letting people know that they are stepping on your toes, but not necessarily just jumping into aggression. Just gradually react as necessary. If someone's coming at you with a knife, you're not obviously just say, please stop. You're going to try and, run or defend yourself. And that's what I mean, just knowing when it's appropriate to have each kind of reaction. This is a Chiron wound in Aries, feeling inappropriate and reacting badly to that feeling inappropriately, So it's interesting that Juno, oh no, but that's Juno's 12th part. So it could have a tendency of, it could be a tendency of trying to appease things through, breaking up of certain social contracts and being like, yeah, that's not working for me anymore. Let's try to do another. Let's try to rearrange this agreement.
Now, as I was saying, with this Pluto-Chiron relationship, the demons ain't going to keep quiet on this either. This is a really, really potent relationship. So far, we've got Aladia, Hahuia. We also have Hargenti and Nibirius. Oh, and we also have Mihael. So Pluto's 12th part is in Mihael's arc, and Chiron's 12th part is in one of Mihael's degrees. Pluto 12th part is by day is ruled by Nibirius, as is Chiron's 12 part by quinance, by the 5-degree arc. But the other way around, Pluto's 12th part is in Haagenti's 5-degree arc, and Chiron is 12th part is ruled by Haagenti by night. So day or night, there's these voices going on here. Haagenti is, his office is to make men wise and to instruct them in diverse things. Also to transmute all metals into gold and to change wine into water and water into wine. A great president appearing as a mighty bull with griffin's wings at first. So that's Haagenti. Who was the other one? Nibirius. So Nibirius, let me find the quote here, is actually the a name for Cerberus, the offspring of Typhon and Echidna. But let me see, what have I got the quote from the, yes, here we are. The 24th spirit is Nibirius. He is a most valiant marquis, and showeth in the form of the black crane fluttering about the circle. And when he speaketh, it is with a hoarse voice. He maketh men cunning in all arts and sciences, but especially in the art of rhetoric. I always read it as rhetoric, but rhetoric. He restoreth lost dignities and honors. So it's starting a discussion while things are moving. So this is the discussion of how do we heal this wound? This is the negotiation of how do we move forward from here, with Nibirius also giving that energy of, you've got this problem, I've got an idea, let's try it this way. And we've got those creative quintiles and spirit pressing on us through all those different septiles to actually get this done. I've dropped the mic and I rest my case. There's loads of other angels and demons talking, and this is a really, really, really busy chart. But if I was going to talk about all the different relationships that was going on, we'd still be here in another 5 hours. This is the one that really stood up to me the most, especially, now it's worth saying, David and I do very, very little discussion before we start these videos. This was already something I wanted to focus on. So to hear David's interpretation of the chart through your Hellenistic training and, you know, your years of experience, I just went straight to angels and demons because they're what I know. But it's the same message that has come through again and again, now or never.
Yeah, this is the beauty of astrology. You can use so many tools to describe what's going on because it's a very intricate system, and you have different ways of achieving the same message. Because the skies are cohesive. You can spot different planets saying the same thing in different areas of the chart and converging to a particular narrative. For instance, you see that Saturn is ruling most planets in the sky right now by domicile. And Saturn is in its own power. So it's no surprise that we are seeing long-term changes in our own lives. It's no surprise that we are seeing things happening right now that we are going to remember in 15 years' time, and are going to be like, wow, what's happening right now is a direct result from what I started back then. And I've never looked back on in that particular scenario like this before, and that's going to be the opposition of Saturn in Cancer and Leo, which is going to be interesting for sure. But right now we are being allowed to make these long-term changes to our personalities and to our bases, our material base in life, and what we believe in. Everything is being reshaped, and we are going to move forward with those views throughout the zodiac until the opposition, where they are going to be taken to another level. Let's put it like that.
This also really makes me, I mean, you know, I'm looking forward to April 30th eclipse anyway, but this is, going through this chart is making me even more look forward to the eclipse, because I think some of that unpredictable eclipse energies could actually be good. There could actually be some good stuff that's coming with an eclipse energy. It might be the end of a few worlds, but I don't think many people are going to shed that many tears.
Yes, do you remember if you talk about not only the eclipse now tying to the Saturn cycle again, you had the fall of the Berlin Wall, you had the end of the Soviet Union, you had so many things happening in the early 90s when Saturn was going in late 80s when you had Saturn going through Capricorn and Aquarius that now are kind of coming to a new chapter in their own narrative. And we have been talking for the past 30 years of those things that happened in the early 90s as long-term, politics things that happened that, reshaped society as it was back then and gave us the tune for the next 30 years. The internet came up in that period, and now we are reshaping it, kind of defining laws in several countries, more developed countries, around what's allowed within the realm of the internet and what's not. And so you see these long-term defining periods with Saturn in its own signs that reshape the whole of the next few decades, so that's why I'm saying this. And yeah, with the eclipses coming up, that narrative is just going to be taken to another step. The eclipses just give it a more volatile tone, which we can't imagine why.
And that's why we've got to clear out all the crap. Now, there's one last thing before I stop sharing this chart I want to draw everyone's attention to, and this we did discuss earlier, that that the Pluto 12th part is right there on the South Node.
I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to try to mention the South Node in Scorpio too.
Which to me, right, I'll stop sharing the chart now because but to me, that really turns around and is saying, it's almost like, hey, Hades is sat there in his underworld, looking up at the material world, going, I've given you messages. I've helped you review your emotions. I've helped you look at this, that, and the other. Enough now. Whatever it was that was being stupid, stop it, do something different. And that's the message that I take. You had a slightly different interpretation, didn't you?
Well, yes, I wanted to talk about the South Node in Scorpio particularly. I know the 12th power of Pluto is there, and so there is some kind of long-term intention behind that. That's as far as I'm going to go with Pluto in this particular case. But the South Node being in Scorpio could be inviting you also to manifest, to throw up all of those hidden fears that you have and get rid of them, kind of address them, throw them into light, because that's the South Node makes you want to be comfortable in a particular dark corner in your room and not move for the rest of your life. But that is such a restrictive feeling all the time that wherever it transits, you realize where your fears are and you want to cast them out. You just want to vomit everything that's in that area. Sometimes you destroy much more than intended. And that's why the advice would be, try to be as cordial as you can, but do that while addressing what's frightening you, what's interred, what's deeply rooted in your being that's uncomfortable. It's like, don't be afraid of sharing with the people you live with, for instance, some kind of discomfort that you feel on the way they treat you. If they treat you nice, if they don't treat you too nice, and you just convince yourself, oh, it's just the way they are, it's just the way they behave, and you don't consider your own feelings about that so they can regulate themselves when dealing with you, you're failing yourself, kind of. And you're doing that because you want to keep in your fears of not being accepted if you speak out about your own needs. So try to do differently. Try to speak out for yourself and do the Martian thing a little bit, where you try to place some safe boundaries around things, that could help you to balance that.
Really interesting, because you say you use the Martian thing, but we've got that Mars Venus, that there's a combination of energies there, because I want to draw attention to, again, that degree of 27 Leo, because it seems to be quite a diplomatic, it's ruled by an angel that, what was it, the god of hope, God of hope, with Citael. But also it's been seen by a number of authors as a degree that creates peacemakers, diplomats, people who have the ability to pretty much make everybody happy. And I will echo what David's saying, because to make everybody happy includes making yourself happy. Because if you're not happy, you ain't going to make anybody else happy. You're just going to be going around miserable with a long face on you, you know. So yes, strive for what will make you happy, and you will probably find that in that interaction, you might find a way that you'll be making other people happy as well. And basically that means more happy, and therefore good.
Yes, very
But technical terms there.
Yeah. Well, I don't have anything else to add to the chart, do you?
I don't. No, I'm used up now, and I'm obviously turning into an astrologer that's obsessed with Pluto. But what have you got going on at the moment? Shall we talk about the Astro-Collective?
Yes, the Astro-Collective. That's a new thing that we've come up with a few friends of ours that I think you guys are going to find interesting. Do you want to have a go?
Yeah, well, there will be a link in the description down below for the Facebook page for the Astro-Collective. It's a group of us that we've been working together for. How long have we been working together now, David?
I think a year,
Yeah.
Maybe less than that, maybe a little less than that, but maybe almost a year.
And you will be seeing us doing more material, or some material. I mean, theoretically, this is now an Astro-Collective show, isn't it? This. But hopefully we will be doing a show. Well, they will be doing, I will host, because it takes me so long to work on one chart. 2 weeks it's taken me to do this full moon. So they will talk about the month, and I will have one chart that I'll have done some work on. But there's, so we're hoping to start some monthly forecasts. Please do go to the Facebook page, give them a like. We're slowly going to dribble out Twitter accounts and Clubhouse.
Again, the name is the Astro-Collective.
Yep, as I said, link will be down below in the description. But the lot of us work really well together, so you should see us bringing some quite interesting projects to light. I'm really looking forward to it. So David, how can, let's, because I've also got to film again in 16 minutes. So let's, how can people contact you as well? I mean, obviously,
well, my website is in the first. Yeah, my website is in the first place, astrologer.com. I have all my services there. I have a page in Portuguese and English, if any of you speak Portuguese. And I have my my website in US dollars. Those are my rates, but they change if you're in Europe. So you can I don't have a translated page with the euros still, but you can contact me through Instagram, also in the first place. It's the name of my page. The links will be below as well. I have a Facebook page as well in the first place. My name is David Fischer, and in the social media as well, if you want to contact me directly through DMs. So Instagram, yeah, and I offer tutoring.
Don't forget your Instagram.
My Instagram, yeah, I've mentioned it. It's in the first place astrology, and it's also at the handle is at it's David Fischer. Yeah. So my offerings are also include tutoring sessions. So if you're a student of astrology, you're studying with people like Achyuta Bhava or Chris Brennan, I can elucidate the material to you guys, show you how to apply the techniques in practice. I have some years of experience with clients where I have used those techniques successfully. So you guys can, I can offer a lot of help in order for you to understand some things like advanced perfections methods, zodiacal releasing, and other techniques like progressions that you might have difficulty with. So look me up. And
as ever, you're on my video page. All the links to contact me are down there. So good luck, and take the bull by the, oh, well, who was it? One of the demons was a bull, wasn't it? Was it Nibirius? But yeah, yes, take the bull by the horns this 2 weeks, or even this 4 weeks, because now's the perfect time to make some beautiful changes in your life. That's it, really, I suppose. Shall we say goodbye?
Yeah, I think we should. So
All right.
yeah, have a
See you
good week,
later,
everyone.
folks. Cheers.